This is my little Crueset Pan set. It's been dragged out of storage and it's showing various signs of wear, and you see the handles have been used on a gas ring, so there's a bit of burning. And basically what I'd like to do is improve the condition generally of the handles in this video. This one in particular has got a nasty crack in it, which I'm hoping to repair rather than renew. So we'll see how it goes. We have a full set of pans, including a skillet, or frying pan as we'd call it. So I'm hoping to give everything a good clean up and hopefully repair this split handle and restain it. So without further ado, we'll get cracking. First thing I want to do is remove all the wooden handles, which so I've got quite a large screwdriver, very meaty in thickness, and we'll just gently turn it anti-clockwise. Came through fairly easy. Bear in mind these pans have got a long bolt, which I'll show you in a bit. It threads all the way through them, and you will get a degree of corrosion on this bolt, so do go careful if it's not coming easy. See, it's the tip which corrodes. I'll pull the handle off, and all in there will have a degree of corrosion because they'll have been immersed in water throughout the life. We'll just do another one just to see how easy this one wants to come. It might need to be coaxed. Now just gently go forwards and backwards, working your way up in increments, and hopefully you'll not damage the threads as you go. So we'll remove all the handles. So I've removed all bar one of the handles. I'm just being a bit careful with this. I've managed to back it off enough to get a little gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the pan this way and just squirt some penetrating fluid in there so that we can free off this thread, because they will actually come apart in two different ways. Obviously the first way is the handle totally detaching, and then I have a couple of pans over here where the end is just screwed off. Either way it will do for this purpose. And that's the other pan. So you may notice all the handles bar the largest pan are the same size, so that's quite simple to remember. So you can actually separate this part from the handle, which will help because it's just all wood, so if we're using sandpaper we're not damaging this. So I'll do that with the lot. Give it a wiggle, this one's a bit tricky. And we'll go back to this pan. This pan's a bit of a pain, so I've got to be gentle. So I'm going to work some penetrating fluid into the handle. If it comes off that end, that's fine, or that end, I'm not really too worried. I think I'll do this in the garage. So I've got this pan in the vise, pinched, and I've got a bit of penetrating spray. Just spray it in the crack there. This is the shape of the pan. You can see there's a little recess there, so that in theory the penetrating fluid should work its way down into the thread, and then a bit later on, once we've given it time to work, we can have another go at that. And let's move on to the skillet. This actually looks in really good condition apart from the need for a clean. The woodwork on the handle is in superb condition, and the one thing I'm worried about, if I refurb the other handles, this one could be letting the side down. So I'm going to take a screwdriver to it and add this one in to the mix. Oh, that came off nice and easy. I think it's got a design advantage with the skillet, because this longer section of steel will protect it from any flames that are trying to lick up the side of it, unlike the pans. So we'll remove this one and add it into the mix. It may actually be a different design, I'm not so sure yet. Skillet, yeah, we're on a little hook. It just hooks round a rod of metal inside, so we can leave that as is for the time being, since we're only focusing on the handles. So we'll give these a rub down. So we're now in the garage. I've selected a couple of the worst handles we've got. There's some nasty burning on these handles and almost wood there, really. The lacquer or whatever the Crueset treat them with as well and truly came off of that one. And indeed that one, it seems to be on the heat, the non-heat side where it gives up, because obviously that's the side where it's been nearest the gas ring. So I've got a range of sandpaper, 120 grit, 60 grit and 80 grit. So we'll just try a bit of 60 grit to start with and work his way down. So we've given this a good sand with the 60 grit, and I think we've improved it quite a bit from its charred cousin. If we go too far we're going to run out of wood, because we are actually altering the shape as we sand away the wood, so just do be careful on that front. Maybe a few more goes with a fine and we'll call this one done. So I've given these a good sanding. You can still see a bit of the charring. There's the odd split to repair, but we've removed all the varnish. I've got this one to do, and we'll go back to the one I had in the vise. Put it in the vise just to free it off. So I'm in my rather busy garage, and what we did, we squirt some penetrating fluid in there with a view to it oozing down the thread. So we'll just turn the pan, see if it's done any good. Things are feeling reasonably good actually. Just gently move side to side and coax it out. Oh, that's stiff. Maybe a bit more. Well, we'll keep working on that. Well, after a few cracks and groans and gently coaxing it forwards and backwards, this pan handle did give up in the end. The good news is we've got the threads intact, so we don't have to buy anything to put these back together. That's why I was extra careful, because if we snap these, it could give us further problems down the line. So I've spent quite a bit of time sanding these down. Still the cracked one there, which we'll deal with in a moment. There's another one with a tiny crack there. We'll deal with that one at the same time. Now I'm a bit torn at this stage. What I was originally going to do was stain them clear with Ronseal hard glaze, which is it's a high temperature clear glaze. But looking at the finish of them, we've got quite a few burnt bits to cover up. I'm thinking about having a go with something a little bit darker just to hide that. Since we're not buying brand new handles, we're going to have to compromise somewhere, I think. So I've got a bit of wood glue and we'll crack on repairing the worst handle. So what I do, I don't bother with a dispenser. I just unscrew that cocktail stick, dip that in, and then we'll work it in this crevice as deep as we can get. It does actually go up to there, so we'll see. We'll try and get it in as high as you can. It'd be great if we could get it in there. I use the point of the cocktail stick just to push it in that little bit deeper. I have a C-cramp here. Can use a vise, but not everybody's got one of them. And I'm just going to cramp this up as tight as I dare, really. I don't really want to indent the wood, but it is a really tough wood. We're going to give it another sanding after this treatment. And the next stage, while I was sanding, I kept all the wood shavings. So I'm going to put a blob or two of wood glue in, and then fill in the rest of the crack with these. So I've got a wood glue, wood shaving mix. I've just mixed a few on the side here. I haven't mixed it all, just a little bit in the edge. And we'll work this in to the handle using the cocktail stick, and hopefully we should be able to sand this down. I want it slightly proud because I'm going to be sanding. Well, I've just had a little thought while the glue's curing. I did notice one thing: the pan handle hooks, they're quite tarnished, and this is the one from the Skillet, which seems to be a little bit brighter. So what I've done is I've got some wet and dry. This one's quite a high grade, I think it's 160 off the top of my head, and that's the finished result with a wet and dry paper and a quick going over with some metal polish. I think that should yield an improvement. The sleeve that goes on the pan handle, I've cleaned one of them up with a bit of 2000 grit, and that's looking pretty good. It did occur to me to use a Brillo pad, but I didn't have one, or a bit of wire wool, so these are the two handles which I've filled and repaired. I actually had to do this one twice because the minute I took it out with the G-clamp it split again, probably because there isn't a lot of wood thickness to work with. So this other one just had a tiny split. That's worked out quite well. So we'll give it a light sanding. So I'll give it a good sanding. You can see where the crack is, and it's infilled with a mixture of sawdust and glue. So what I've done, I've got the rest of the handles on a length of wire just to ease the staining process. So I've changed my mind yet again on the wood stain. I went for this, it's exterior grade, so hopefully it should be good. And I thought I'd use natural oak because I want it to get the handles as light as possible. But we will see if we can still see the markings on the various handles after I've done this. Well, that's not quite the colour I had in mind, but we'll give it a stir and see if any magic occurs. I suppose it's all about how it looks on the wood. Well, after 3 coats of the wood stain, this is now the finished result for each handle. I'm reasonably pleased with it. You can see the handle I repaired, which is looking less visible but still noticeable. But if you want a handle that's like new, we could always buy a new one. Given that the varnish is quite soft to the touch, we're going to go over it with this Ronseal hard glaze. I'm going to give the pan a good clean with none other but the pink stuff. All we need is a damp cloth, and we'll just go sparingly and we'll see what it can do to these scratches. See these scratches here, it should come out. They're only surface scratches in the enamel. And it seems to be doing a good job of minimising them, whilst also giving the enamel of the pan a good polish, as it is a very gentle abrasive. So we're going to do the pans both inside and out. For tougher grounding stains, I've found the use of a brush helps in conjunction with the pink stuff. Well, I've cleaned every one of these pans now, and they are a little dull, so what I'm going to do is just put a little drop of olive oil in, and then I'm going to spread that round with a sponge. Hopefully that should soak into the enamel. and give it a bit of shine. Well, that seems to have brightened things up. Spot the difference. I'm generally quite pleased with the pan handle condition. That's a bit stiff. So it's pretty much the same procedure as taking it apart using a large screwdriver. Just turn it. A couple of these are a bit stiff, so I might have to use some lubrication on them. This one's gone quite well. Just make sure the handle's nice and firm on the pan, and you get the writing up towards the top. So it's now time for reassembly of a pan. Put the end on. I'm not sure what to call this part. I've pre-oiled this, so we should be working a bit of oil in. I've just used a bit of engine oil, very sparingly. It should make life much easier. And turn it up. You've probably noticed it's a lot easier to do up these pans once they're oiled. And we're nearly there with finger tightness. I'll just go the extra turn with a bit of leverage, and that handle is on nice and solid. That's one down, 5 to go. Well, that completes my Crueset Pan Restoration video. Things I'd do differently if I were to repeat the process is I would actually keep a note of which handle came from which pan, and also the respective ironmongery, just to ease the refitting process. I've had to juggle a few things around off camera. So many thanks for watching, and why not subscribe to learn of more repair possibilities.